Hello and welcome to the Billion Dollar Broker Podcast. My name is Ross Lacane. I'm bringing my 25 years industry experience together with leading experts around the globe to give you the insights on how to live a better life and grow a profitable mortgage broking business that you are proud of. Hey team, it's easy to sell when the market is going really, really well. But it takes certain skills when the market starts to turn, and obviously interest rates. We had another interest rate rise yesterday. So the ability to convert clients when there's less leads in the market becomes more important. So I see a lot of brokers who, don't pivot and change the way their conversations and their sales process goes from a market that's booming to a market where leads are slowing. So it's really important when the market is slowing that we look to how can we create a process within our business to challenge and educate clients that will increase our conversion rates and add value. Obviously the clients that are looking to do something in the market at the moment, and again, there's the clients that I say below the lines, which are the sort of the victims, and they're looking to be saved by you guys. And then you've got the people above the line, which are the leaders that really need to be guided by you, and they're seeing the opportunities that are presenting themselves in the market. So in terms of your sales process needs to be able to cater for both of those types of clients. So, what to do? What should we do in this market to be different, to compete? And let's face it, you're competing with other brokers, so you've got to be better. You've got to have better skills, tactics, and you've got to add more value than the next broker. Because with 70% of business being written by other mortgage brokers, you're competing against your fellow brokers, and it's your skills to add value to your marketplace that's going to differentiate you. So I've put together a bit of a guide for you. It comes from the book called The Challenger Sale, and it's a book that I love, and it was written around the GFC, and it was in business to business sales, looking at the people who converted sales. And I'm going to do a bit of a summary and take you through this today because I found it fascinating, and it's something that I teach a lot in my program. We go through the series of relationship selling and the steps, because too many brokers are transactional and you really want to be relational. And one way you can be relational is to add value to your clients by challenging and educating. And you'll see why this is so important when we get into it. Right, so if I bring up the presentation, just bear with me. So this is the Billion Dollar Broker Challenger Guide. As I say, type guide below if you want a copy of this, and I'll be sure to get it out to you. But if you look at it in terms of, and this is the book, I highly recommend you read it. Again, I reckon you're better off getting the actual copy of the book rather than the audio book, because the graphs and the value, I found it better if you've actually got the written version of the book rather than an audio book. But it discovers this sales method that we're going to talk about today. So it goes through 5 profiles of different sales reps, right? So it goes through the problem solver, and it gives some summaries there. So it's reliable, ensures all the customers' problems are solved, is detailed oriented. And maybe you can relate in terms of which one of these you are. The hard worker, goes the extra mile, doesn't give up easily, is self-motivated, likes feedback and development. And you've got the challenger, which is the focus of our discussion today. Has a different view of the world. He understands deeply the customer's needs and their business. He loves to debate. He pushes the client to get out of their comfort zone. And then the next one is the relationship builder. Builds strong advocates, generates customer loyalty, is generous with their time, helps others and gets along with everyone. And traditionally speaking, this is your typical type of broker, right? I'll sit down, I'll understand your needs, we'll go through, we'll find the best product for you, and that's what we'll give you. And that works perfectly well in a market where it's booming, right? But in a market where it's more challenging, we need to start to challenge and educate our clients by taking the noise out of the market and looking at different ways that we can communicate complexity in very simple terms. So the next is the lone wolf. They follow their instincts, self-assured and independent, right? So if we go through then, and this is a key slide, right? Because if you look at the slide taken from the book, it's looking at people who challenge and educate. So the challenger in a complex sales environment, and a mortgage is a complex sale, right? So your mortgage is a complex sale. The challenger who challenges and educates clients will convert at 54%, compared to the relationship builder who will convert at 4%. Right? So the sales environment now is becoming a lot more complex. Right? So we've got interest rate rises, we've got a bit of panic, we've got media talking about house prices, falling through the floors. Every day you pick up the paper, there's some doom and gloom. Obviously, every month we've got the Reserve Bank coming out raising interest rates, and it just puts concerns, and people tend to react rather than respond, right? So in order to take that noise and again look at the big picture, and there's the things that I teach in my program around how we can do this through your having a really good sales process that step by step takes you through and looks at different ways that you can challenge and educate people through stories, through relationship models, through graphs, through calculators. These are all ways that you're able to sort of educate those clients and challenge them in terms of how to get them to think differently. And in this environment, to get the conversion of those really important needs, we need to make the clients think differently. We need to zoom out and take that bigger picture view. We all know that property over time is a great investment. Just because this spec, if we take it over 1,000 years, this spec of time, yes, it may be challenging, but if we take the noise out of it and speak to those points, then we're much likely to be able to challenge and educate our client. So if we then go to some next slides and have a look at, all right, well, what does a challenger do that's different within the marketplace, right? And so a challenger delivers insight that reframes the customer's way that they think about their business and their overall needs and their long-term goals, right? So when we're talking transactional, a transactional broker isn't even going to get this deep, isn't going to have the ability to ask the right questions to even be able to know what to challenge and educate on. So that's why having that process is really important. They communicate their sales in the context of the customer, right? So they tailor it to the customer's needs. And again, having those right questions to ask will help you put this in a way where you can tailor it to the client's needs. So the next point, and if I move my big head out of the way, challenger reps seek to leverage constructive tension to their advantage across all the dimensions of the sale, right? So in terms of, and by tension, this is tension based on what the client's needs are, right? So again, you could say, well, in the future, where do you want to be? Do you want to have your basic needs met, or do you want to be at a point where you're financially free, right? So you're challenging and creating tension with them so they want to do things differently. So this is the challenge. So they openly pursue goals in a direct but non-aggressive way to increase customer risk aversion, right? So buyer safety. What are you doing within your sales process to put that buyer safety in there, right? How are you presenting and educating that information so the clients feel like it's the right thing to do? And I used to deal with a lot of property investors, and we would grow big property portfolios. And part of looking at growing a big property portfolio is you've got to look at the risks that are associated with growing a big property portfolio. And those risks are obviously rising interest rate, tenancy, unemployment, losing your job, and we want to be able to protect those, right? So if you can build in your process, and when you're looking at their finance and looking at their options, things like some forms of protection, whether that's insurance, whether that's creating buffers in the accounts, this is an example of what creates that safety for a client. But again, you need to educate them in terms of how and why this is important, right? So these are the steps to create that buyer safety where you're really taking control of the sales process. So in terms of looking at the traits of a challenger has a process and controls the sale right from the beginning, right? So they provide a unique perspective. They have solid two-way communication skills. So as I mentioned, asking the questions, really deeply understanding their needs is really, really important. And they know about, what drives that customer, right? They know how to dig in deep. There's a saying that one of my mentors, Simon Bowen, says you can't be shallow and deep at the same time, right? So you can't be talking on that transactional level, but also be talking at those deeper needs around, okay, I want to create that financial freedom. I want to create a legacy for my family. These are the reasons that I'm doing this. So by possessing, solid two-way communication skills and really understanding what those drivers are on a deeper level, you're going to be in a much better position to really sort of challenge and educate the clients. So in terms of, really understanding deeply, again, what the economic drivers or what's happening in the economy and what's happening in the overall property market or what's happening within their business world, if you're focusing on commercial and self-employed clients, what are those concerns that they've got? And again, this is where niching comes into it, in terms of you can't pretend to be everything to everyone. Whereas if you can focus on that market, and especially in these times where you can differentiate yourself from other brokers, and one of the things that I say for newer brokers is, determine what market that you want to serve and become world class at serving that. Because if you've got that more strategic vision in terms of, all right, this is the niche that I want to serve. Let's say, for example, I'll pick something like a doctor, for example. If you wanted to service doctors and you wanted to understand them on a deep level and know what their drivers are, what they're interested in, what their pain points, the way they like to be communicated, the best time of day to contact them, all of those different things about that particular niche, you are much better in terms of serving that particular niche, right? But had you not decided on what market you were going to focus on, you would never be able to do that, right? But in terms of if you get specific in terms of a client, you really understand what the way they think and what their economic drivers are. And then the last one is having the ability, again, when we say to pressurize a customer in a good way, but to help them to make the right decisions, to take the noise out of the market and get them to take action despite what's happening right now within the marketplace. Because ultimately we know, that, say, for example, if you don't do something, what is that opportunity cost? And we look at the people that sat on the sidelines in terms of the market and didn't act 3 or 4 years ago. How much have they lost now? Would they be in a better position? And there's going to be some really good buying opportunities coming up. And even in markets at the moment, like South Australia, Western Australia, parts of Queensland, there's amazing buying opportunities, right? Really good buying opportunities right now if you're prepared to look outside where you're living at the moment. So in terms of the pros of a challenger sale, right? So offers the customer a new perspective, has a solid understanding of the customer's value, and can identify those economic. So in terms of looking at another point, right? And again, I focus a lot on the importance of that relationship and the importance of, the point of sale and making it more about the client's needs and not about just getting them a home loan. And one of the other things within the book that I really, really love, and again, if you want a copy, just mention guide in the chat. I'm happy to get you a copy of this document that we're going through now. But look at customer loyalty, right? So 53% of loyalty is built at the point of sale, right? So if 53% of loyalty is built at the point of sale, that purchase experience needs to do all these things. Offer unique perspectives on the market. Help me navigate alternatives. Help me avoid potential landmines and educate me on new issues and outcomes. All right? And you've got to be easy to buy from. One of the surveys that was done a few years ago was talking about why customers choose mortgage brokers. And why customers choose mortgage brokers is because they're easier to buy from. So in this process, you've got to make it easy for the client to buy from you. You've got to present your sales process in a logical way that it leads to the outcome that's going to be great for you. And if it's great for them, and if it's going to be great for them, it's going to be great for you because it's going to lead to a sale. So, I ask you, and I've put a couple of questions in the guide. What are some of the ways that you can think about your business and your sales process? What are some of the ways that you can go about and challenge and educate clients within this market? How can you take the noise out? How can you look at some of the long-term statistics, simplify this into sales models, which is something I'm big on teaching about, because a sales model allows you to, show a complex point. And again, some of these graphs are a perfect example. They're complex things that I'm talking about, but putting in a graph and putting in a model, it makes it simple. How can we use some of these things within the sales process for you and your team? And, what are some of those problems that are facing your niche or your target market at the moment that you can overcome in terms of by looking at this and the information that we've spoken about today. So as I say, this is something that I'm passionate about, something that, I think if you're not really using this time to really up your skills, really to think about, getting some sort of coaching from somebody like myself that can help you get to that next level. Because as I said, you are competing against other brokers, and it's the brokers that are willing to do these things that are going to take that market share. They're going to educate your clients to the point where, this other broker didn't do that, Ross. I'm going to go with you for sure, right? So you've got to think about that and really take those steps. And I'd love to have a chat and talk to you if that's something that you're interested in. I hope you've enjoyed this. This has been another one of the lives that gives you great information. And I look forward to speaking to you next time. In the meantime, go ahead and create that profitable business that you are proud of. I'm Ross LeCain, founder of $1 Billion Broker, and I'll see you next time.